I, 28M, have spent the last 3 years being a professional doormat for my girlfriend, 26F. We lived in her apartment, which her parents paid the mortgage for, and I worked 60 hours a week at a logistics firm to cover every other bill, her car note, and her influencer lifestyle that never actually made a dime. The dynamic was simple. I provided the stability, and she provided the constant reminders that I was lucky to even be in her presence. The disrespect wasn't a slow burn, it was a flood. She would routinely forget to introduce me at parties, leaving me standing there like a hired security guard while she flirted with guys she called networking contacts. If I brought it up, she'd roll her eyes and tell me I was insecure. The breaking point happened on a Tuesday night, 2 weeks before her 26th birthday. I had just finished a 12-hour shift. I walked in to find her and 3 of her friends drinking wine. The sink was overflowing with dishes, and the trash was literally spilling onto the floor. I asked if someone could have at least run the dishwasher. She didn't even look up from her phone. She told me not to be a buzzkill and just clean it up because it takes 5 minutes. One of her friends giggled and said she wished she had a live-in maid who paid her car insurance. I felt something snap. I told her I'm not a maid, I'm her boyfriend, and I was tired of being treated like an accessory. She stood up, poked my chest, and hissed that I was a boring, average guy with a mid-level job and 0 charisma. Then she said the words that ended us. Please. Like anyone else would ever want you. Her friends erupted in laughter. She told me if I wasn't back by tomorrow to help her pick out a dress for her party, I shouldn't bother coming back at all. I walked out. I didn't go to the kitchen. I went to the bedroom, packed a suitcase, and left. She thought I was going to a hotel to pout. She was wrong. I went to stay with a buddy and messaged her cousin, 25F. The cousin was the black sheep of their family, a high-achieving corporate lawyer who hated how vapid my girlfriend was. I messaged her, "Your cousin just told me nobody else would ever want me. Want to grab a drink and prove her wrong?" She replied in seconds, "I've been waiting for you to realize how she treats you for 2 years. Pick me up at 8. Over the next 10 days, I went silent. My girlfriend sent dozens of texts demanding money for the electric bill, her hair appointments, and telling me to stop being dramatic because I needed to drive everyone to her birthday party on Friday. I ignored them all. I was busy. I consulted with a colleague who specializes in tenant law. Since I had been paying rent directly to her parents via bank transfers for 3 years, and they were taking my money under the table while claiming the apartment as a non-rental gift to avoid taxes, I had a massive paper trail of their tax evasion. I sent a polite email to her father, explaining that since I was leaving, I'd be filing a formal report with the IRS to recoup my unauthorized rent payments unless he returned my security deposit and cleared my name from any shared debts. Her father called me screaming about family loyalty, but when I mentioned the IRS spreadsheet, the tone changed. By Thursday, $15,000 was in my account, 3 years of overpaid rent and the deposit. Then came the night of the birthday party at a rented lounge. Her entire family was there. My girlfriend was in the middle of the room, telling a story about how I was probably too intimidated to show up. I walked in wearing a tailored suit I bought with the refund her dad sent me, and I had her cousin on my arm. The room froze. My girlfriend dropped her glass. She asked what the heck was going on, and I just smiled and told her that her cousin actually had much better taste than she did. The cousin added that she was just there to provide the data that proved my girlfriend wrong. My girlfriend turned purple. She demanded her dad kick us out. Her father, knowing I had the IRS whistleblower draft ready to send on my phone, looked like he'd swallowed a lemon and told her we could stay. My girlfriend lost it. She tried to throw red wine on the cousin, but I caught her wrist. I told her she only had power as long as I was afraid to lose her, and I wasn't afraid anymore. I leaned in and whispered that I had the $15,000 her dad sent me, the logs of her fraudulent use of my credit cards for her business expenses, and that she was in deep trouble. Then the cousin dropped the real bomb. She told my girlfriend that her firm had just bought the apartment building. Since there was no legal lease and the parents weren't technically landlords, my girlfriend was getting a 30-day notice to quit on Monday. We walked out to the sound of her screaming. But she wasn't done being entitled. 2 hours later, I got a fraud alert. She was trying to charge a $4,500 luxury hotel suite to an emergency card I'd forgotten she had. I didn't just decline it. I reported it stolen and called the hotel. I told them the person using it wasn't authorized and that the police were on the way. I drove to the hotel to see the finale. She was at the front desk screaming at the staff, claiming I was her fiancé and just being spiteful. I walked in and told the security guard I was the account holder and I'd never authorized a $4,000 stay. When the police arrived, she started the fake influencer crying, but it didn't work. Because the amount was so high, it was a felony-level fraud attempt. They cuffed her right there in her birthday dress. Her mother called me a monster for destroying her life over a few words, but I just told her I was the guy who finally decided to find out. The aftermath was brutal for them. Her father didn't bail her out because he was too busy trying to hide his assets from a potential IRS audit. She spent her birthday in a holding cell. On Monday, the cousin showed up with the police and a locksmith to the apartment. My ex had 2 hours to pack her life into trash bags. Anything she left behind was donated to a women's shelter. The family WhatsApp group was a war zone. The cousin ended up posting all the receipts of the under-the-table rent and the texts where my ex insulted me. The family essentially imploded. My ex ended up with a plea deal, 3 years of probation and a permanent felony record. Her influencer career ended immediately because no brand wants to work with a convicted fraudster. Her father had to sell 2 properties to pay off the IRS settlements. As for me, I'm in a new place. The cousin and I are great friends, and I finally realized that my value isn't defined by someone who needed me just to pay their bills. She wanted to know if anyone else would want me. Turns out the answer was yes, but more importantly, I finally wanted a better life for myself. If you think this revenge was as sweet as a birthday cake, hit that subscribe button. I promise my stories have way more substance than my ex's Instagram feed. Would you like me to look into the legal fallout of the father's tax evasion, or check if there are any more updates on the cousin's eviction of the rest of the family's ego?